Hi, welcome to our IAD webinar, Shaping Tomorrow's Spatial Experiences. And here we have some students and a lecturer who will be uh, discussing on what you will want to know about our course. So with that being said, let me share a few words from our course chair.
Hi everyone, I am Dennis. I'm the course chair for Interior Architecture Design. Thanks for spending your time with us today to understand more about our course. I'm sure just by reading the title of the course, you'll be thinking, what is interior architecture? Okay, what's the difference between interior architecture and interior design, for example? So I think basically, okay, a course that is interested in creating spacious spatial experiences, okay, that are to do with the interior spaces and also to do with how architecture actually helps to shape interior spaces and experiences. Yeah. So we are talking about functional, safe, and emotive considerations, okay, for contemporary kind of social issues. For example, like the pandemic, okay, that you guys are experiencing right now. How can interior architecture, okay, or the design of it actually help with the spatial experiences of the occupants and the well-being of the occupants? So what we are doing over here has very important implications, okay? Because at the end of the day, to be able to live, work, and play, okay, in a certain space, okay, within the envelope of architecture, that is what we are really interested in. Yeah. So for you guys, you'll be joining us if successful in April. Yeah. And don't worry about it if you don't have any spatial design backgrounds or understanding of any software, because we will be teaching you that. Yeah. So we have subjects, okay, that deal with aesthetics for design, that deal with instruction, yeah, that deal with even spatial design. Yeah. So not to worry. Yeah, you guys are in good hands. Okay, once you guys are able to get into our course, and this 3-year course, yeah, will be very exciting. Yeah, and really hope to see you guys join us, and yeah, go from somebody who doesn't really know about what interior architecture is to somebody who can really contribute, okay, to the interior design and interior architecture community in Singapore. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks to Dennis for recording the intro for us and giving you all an overview of this webinar and also our course and what it offers. So right now, can we have Mithra and Bernice and Jordan, some of our current students, to share their experiences studying in our course?
Okay, so hi everyone, can you hear me? So we are the year 2 IID students from Temasek Poly, and let me introduce all 3 of us. So we have me, Bernice, Jordan, and Mitra. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so what does IID stand for? So IID actually stands for Interior Architecture Design, and we don't only design buildings or renovations for the interiors, but we actually do layouts like floor plans and like pop-up stores or anything. We don't only design permanent stuff, but we do design temporary events as well. Moving on. Okay, so here are our personal views on interior architecture design and how it has changed over the years in TP. So first, most of us actually thought that the course would just be designing the aesthetic of interior and exterior, like the outside of the building and maybe inside of your house and stuff like that. But then as we studied this course, we found out that actually we do a lot more than that. Like what I've mentioned before, like floor plans and pop-up stores, something that we never thought we will do lah. Moving on. Okay, so here is our daily lives in TP. So since COVID-19, right, most of our lessons are HBL, like home-based learning. So we'll usually wake up around 8, have our breakfast, wash up, and do everything we need to do before class. So our class usually start at 9 a.m. and we'll usually have a lunch break around like 12 or 1. Then we'll continue with our classes and usually we will end class by 6 p.m. And then afterwards, we either have our CCAs or we'll just continue with our work. Okay, moving on. And here are some of our projects we have done in this course, in this interior and architecture design course. So we have different modules, and here are some of the digital sketches and digital models we have done throughout 2 years in Temasek Poly. We don't only do digital sketches, but we do physical sketches and physical models as well. So here are some of the examples of the physical sketches. Okay, so as you can see from the top left, you can see that there are floor plans and rendered interior pictures. And at the bottom of this slide, you can see physical models. So we actually measured like super detailed for all these models. And yeah, we do digital and physical models in our course. Then we also have rendered as I've mentioned before, we have rendered floor plans. So rendering basically means that we input like materials and colors into our floor plans. So we use AutoCAD for that. Yeah, moving on.
All right. Hi guys. My name is Jordan, and I'll be taking over the next part of the presentation. So, moving on, that was actually year 1 project. This is actually the year 2 project. So we have this module called the Integrated Studio Project. So we will actually work together as groups, and then we will tackle on some real life clients, some issues and what they offer the site. We actually went down to the site. We actually find out what the site has to offer, and then we find out what the client want, and then we actually empathize with them and then design along the way. So this is one of our work that we did at City Humanistic Center, where we actually designed a pop-up store for them. These are some of our technical drawings that we have to do on the software called AutoCAD. And then this is another one where it's the same project, the 2G Humanistic Youth Center. And then all these so-called 3D modelings and renderings are actually made from this software called 3ds Max. So when you come into year 2, you get to know more about digital software such as 3ds Max, and you can even do cool animations such as this. These are another rendered plans and sections. So these are actually made from a rendering software called V-Ray. So we will actually render it based on the software itself, and then we'll show how the spatial relations work along the way. And then for this is actually hold on. So this is actually digital visualization using software 3ds Max, and then render it out with added sound, and then made a video out of it. So our course is not only about all the technical drawings, or very, very techy stuff, but we also can make interesting models such as this Jurassic World model, inspired model. And then this is also another digital visualization tool, part of our work, where we do the same thing, but then this is more towards the home-like model. Then for this is digital visualization 3, where we learn a new software called Revit. So this is a BIM software where we have more technical based than 3ds Max, but then yes, we actually get exposed to many different softwares along the way of year 2. Moving on to Mitra.
Hi guys, I'm Mitra, and I'll be taking this last segment. So for TP, right, TP ID actually offers us opportunities for students like us to enter into competitions. And by entering competitions like this, we gain much more experience, and we can use this to adapt it into what we do in our school life. Moving on. Moving on to the next page. This is also another competition work that we have done. It's called the Young Designer Award 2021 competition, and TPID also offers this kind of opportunities for us to enter, and this actually widens our learning scope beyond what we learn from school. Next up, I'm gonna just address some of the questions that we had as freshmen that you guys might have too. So how is TPID different from interior and architectural course? We are the only course that offers covers both interior design and architectural design. So instead of learning one, we learn both. So it's actually double the fun. So I think this is one of the questions that most of you will have, and whether the course is manageable. I think I can agree with, I think a lot of people will agree with me saying that there's no easier course. And as students, we all make sacrifices, especially sleep, but the result is rewarding, and putting so much effort into our works, the end result is just very, like, you'll feel a sense of achievement. And I also have to say that we also have a wonderful team of ID lecturers that are skillful and experienced, and they push us further and inspire us further to show that anything is possible. Moving on to the next page. Our favorite things about TPID or campus is that, TPID course is where we get to work with different classmates. We come together as a group, supporting each other through our design processes, helping each other out, and interacting with one another along throughout these years in ID. I think it's a very enriching experience for an ID student. With that, I would like to thank you all, and we really hope to see you join the ID family. So, thank you.
All right. Thanks for sharing your experiences. And Ian, would you like to share your experience being a final year student who has gone through the SIP or Student Internship Program? So here's another perspective from the life of being a student.
Yep, let me just share my slides. Okay, so this is my just a quick run through about my experience so far as a year 3 in IAD. For me, why IAD was mostly because I was looking a lot at this conceptual design, but in 3D. And I was also really interested in the architecture studies. And honestly, well, in here also we get to do a lot of modeling, model building, and we study a lot on also user-focused designs. So all these things were like stuff that interested me, and that was what brought me here in the first place. So I think in terms of what we do, the biggest thing that we do a lot is ISP, Integrated Studio Project. So this takes up to 1 semester usually, which is about 6 months, give or take. And it is a really large kind of project. It brings together the modules that we do across basically this entire semester. So that's why it's called Integrated Studio Project. During the course of this, we learn a lot of new softwares. We learn a lot of kind of basic design fundamentals. And we have to apply all of this at the very end of the project. So all of this has to come together in a way to show our learning. And it's usually a really fruitful experience because it's kind of learning and applying your knowledge. And we always come out of an ISP a lot more experienced and knowledgeable. On top of that, ISP is usually held in a way that's really realistic. There's a realistic site, and there's also a really unique brief that we have to follow each time. For digital softwares, I think as mentioned also, AutoCAD, 3ds Max, Revit, Photoshop, these are kind of ways that we bring together to show our design ideas. We usually use a mix of it, and if not all of it, in order to convey the ideas that we have in an accurate manner, or even sometimes in as creative a way that we can. For model building as well, this is kind of the physical aspect that comes with architecture and interior design. We look a lot at craftsmanship, form and space exploration, because we want to study a lot of unique designs, but at the same time have a bit of fun with it. So we tend to use simple white mounting boards or foam boards. And at most, we'll just use like wood satay sticks or even wood pieces. And then we try and create something as imaginative as possible. And usually we will present this in our final stages of our projects. So it's kind of like a summary of everything that we've been working towards. In terms of stuff like studio culture, this was in the end of our year 1 before COVID. It's a kind of a unique thing that comes with design school. And in TPID, we worked together in studios back then. And it was really helpful because it allowed us to continuously mix even during lessons and outside of it. And we get to do things together. So there's this sense of belonging and identity. Of course, then also being together so much means we get to do basically everything as a whole cohort, as a group. And we tend to have to balance work and life a lot. We don't want to go to the end of our semester-long ISP all burnt out, but we also don't want to become a homebody, that kind. So it's kind of very flexible. We play a lot and we work a lot as well. Yeah, and during COVID, during the pandemic, it was a challenge because we continued our usual classes and our modules, but online. So for things like site visits, where we have to look at our ISP briefs, but in person, we could only do things like go for guided visits, and we couldn't revisit the sites. For things like building the models as well, we couldn't bring them to school anymore, so we had to kind of communicate and convey our ideas better over video, or even just showing our screens and trying to explain things through drawings and images. This is something that we got to do at the start of year 3, industry studio project. So we did this again with the COVID restrictions in 2021. We had our guided site visits as well, and we worked as a team from start to end. So this is something unique. We only had 1 term instead of 1 semester to finish this, and it was very challenging in the sense that we had to communicate very fast and efficiently. With the amount of time that we had and the size of the brief, teamwork was quite a key factor to making the project even happen. But we had to work on each other's strengths, and then we had to put together a final brief. So this industry project was even more realistic than ISB, the other ISBs, in the sense that we have a specific brief by the client, and we had to share these ideas and thoughts to the client in a way that made sense to them. Because if it was too unrealistic or too out of the way, they wouldn't be convinced by our ideas. So we had to put together a lot of, I guess, topics and a lot of our design intentions so that the client would understand what we were going for, and then we could have further discussions based on that. So we also had to convey things in a very specific way and in something that was very concise. So this kind of what we call storyboard, where we put together everything that we are designing and everything that we want to focus on, and then we send it over. This is a quick snippet of a presentation video that we submitted at the end for the client. So there's actually a variety of ways to convey ideas and to kind of share what you're going for in terms of the design. It doesn't always have to be just images and drawings. So we do have a lot of opportunities to explore and adventure, especially when you're working with a client and a project of this scale. Yeah, and speaking of realistic experiences in IED, student internship program is kind of the highlight of our year 3. So I was attached to Kingsman. We focus a lot on retail interiors, thematic and experiential spaces. They also look a lot into exhibition spaces. I think some of their most unique projects are not just local, but also international. A lot of retail stores, a lot of F&B spaces. I think one thing that we would all recognize would maybe be the bicentennial. That was Kingsman helped to realize that project on the thematic end. So I was assigned to KR plus D. This is the more retail side of Kingsman, and we looked a lot on experiential stores and F&B spaces. We specialize in technical work because actually when it comes to a work like interior design and even just looking at a store or F&B space in general, there's a lot of specifics that have to come together before we can even propose something. So it starts off with things like materials or even dimensions. In different cases, there are sometimes very unexpected specifics that we would never see coming. For example, perhaps at this restaurant, the servers are mostly ladies and they have a certain height that they don't want to surpass. So then we have to cater to these needs, and then we redesign the entire furniture in the store to cater to this. It was something that I found quite interesting, and it was really unique in the sense that it made me look a lot into details. And because this time it's all professional in a real world setting, I couldn't exactly slack on any ends, because then there would be repercussions on the client end. For digital modeling as well, this is the more creative side of an interior design work, because it allowed us to express our atmosphere, our material use, and I guess our goals for the space to the client. It was also a really useful way for us to communicate and have further discussions later on. I guess for learning outcomes, the exposure to this kind of projects I mentioned earlier is probably the biggest takeaway, to meet and learn from not just clients and designers, but even contractors, because whatever we talk about has to be applied to the real world. It made me more aware of the industry in general, so that in a sense that we can't just go into a project and throw random designs and ideas into it. We have to look at the wider scale of things as well. Then for client partnerships as well, we looked a lot more closely at briefs this time. So it's no longer what I want, but it's also what I want to help the client get. And I think this kind of professional working standard is a unique thing that you wouldn't be able to experience easily. And the internship, those 16 weeks that we had with the company gave me a lot of knowledge on how to deal with this in future. Initially, I was also unsure of my design interests, and I really didn't know much about the design industry and professional standards, because when we go in a project, it's kind of almost like a sandbox, so we can just play in any way we want and just develop our ideas as we go. There weren't really strong restrictions placed on us, unlike in the industry. So this wide range of projects, it was like multiple projects each day revolving. It gave me a lot of I would say experience, because it's really about learning to deal with many things happening at once and having to hit a certain standard for each of this. Communication and collaboration then was key, because this was also the first time I had to work so often with a team. And in this team, each person had their own specializations. So to kind of deal with different parts of a project as an intern, helping here and there, was kind of fun. And I guess I got to learn how to be flexible as well. So it was no longer just me and my own ideas, but it was everything as a whole. So the internship experience in general really was something unique. I honestly, at first, I thought it was some sort of just regular interior design. But then as I went on, it became a lot more in-depth. And I guess I took away a lot of knowledge on not just the interior designing aspect, but also the mentality and the kind of things that you have to prepare yourself for mentally before you go into the field. This would probably apply to all aspects of ID as well. It's not so much on just drawing and coming up with ideas, but it's about applying them, and as yourself as a designer, kind of getting into the mindset and doing things in a way that's logical and comprehensive. So yep, that's about the end of my sharing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So I'm sure our juniors have some questions for Ian. Mithra, you want to get this started?
Hi, I can. So we are year two, right? So we are about to go for internship program. What to expect when we go for this internship program?
I think the internship kind of differs for each person depending on the companies that you pick and the expectations you have when you go in. I think first of all is to be like very open, because in specifically an IAD style company, we kind of have to be very flexible with things. Sometimes maybe in that particular field, they want you to focus on perhaps, like I say, technical drawings. So you have to be ready to take on that kind of task, and you have to be more specific maybe with your work. Or perhaps then you can also work on the more creative side. Then you might be dealing with more sketching, conceptual work, renderings, and design. It's really about the mindset. As you go in, you have to be prepared for basically anything that can be thrown at you, because we sort of like ISP, we work in stages. So in different stages, we have different challenges. Sometimes at the beginning, maybe when it comes to the concept stage, the client isn't comfortable with the ideas being put out. So then you have to discuss with the team and move forward from there. Yeah. So it's really about expecting the unexpected.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So I have another question, which is, since from the sharing, it seems that you enjoy your internship. So is there any chances that you will continue with them, or do you what is the most memorable thing, or what have you learned from there that you can apply in the future?
For me, I would say, yeah, I would be really willing to go back if I had the chance, because those 16 weeks really wasn't, I only got to see through, I think, one project, and I had to drop a lot of others when I left. So it kind of felt like, like something got cut off midway. It was really enjoyable, because it's like initially when I first went in, I was completely lost. I got dragged to a site visit within like 2 hours of stepping in the office. So it was like complete chaos for me at the start. But then about 6-7 weeks later, I kind of got used to it, and then I was like ready to just jump into any project. It's like my supervisor would call me, and then he would say, "Oh, we have a discussion now on something, something, something," and then we just go in and sit down as a team and start discussing. I think my most memorable moment would be, uh, I think we were being chased by the client. I can't remember when, but it was in the modeling stage. So it was actually for those renders that I put in the slides. I was the one working on the renders, and then suddenly the client wanted to request for the renders earlier than expected. So it was about 7 p.m. And then we stayed in the office till for like an hour and a half or more. And then I was just working on my laptop, and then I had the whole team around me. So it was really stressful for that moment. But then it also felt fun because it was like a co-designing session. I would be clicking things, and then afterwards, my boss from behind me or my designer senior would just chip in and say, "What about this? What about that?" And then we just keep playing with the model. Yeah, it was quite a unique experience.
Okay, one last question for you. Do you see yourself working in this field in the future?
Yeah, I think for now, yeah, I would say yes, because it's something that I found really fun so far for the past 3 years. Um, the part I really like is that there's always something that you wouldn't expect from this. Uh, you could go into a project in the first few days thinking it's going to go this way, but then 1-2 weeks later, maybe you hit a design block or you find something else, and then it just completely changes. So I think there's always this level of surprise. You will never be able to expect how a project goes from start to end. And because it's kind of a long-term thing all the time, it gives you the chance to develop yourself as you go. So you would never be the same at the end as you were at the start. Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone, and thanks Ian for answering those questions very clearly and quite in depth into your personal experiences. So at this point of time, I'd like to get two of our alumni who are currently studying in US architecture to share their experiences after the Temasek Poly IAD course.
Yeah, I'll just like share my screen to show our presentation. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Jillian, and together with Rachel, we'll be taking you through our IED roadmap as well as our transition from poly to uni. In IED, the basis of our learning is centralized around core modules which we see as stepping stones. These allow us to test our newfound potential each year. In years 1 and 2, we are tasked with 3 integrated studio projects. These are individual projects which allow us to familiarize ourselves with the design process. Year 3 then introduces the industry studio project, which adds an aspect of group work to our previous studio projects, simulating a real-life working culture as you work alongside your groupmates. This is followed by the student internship program, where we take the skills learned in TP thus far and adapt it to an industry level. Our last semester is purely focused on our final year project. This project is usually seen as the pride and joy of our entire IED experience. These are the works that we did for ISP 1 and 3. These are both done in year 2. We were given the opportunity to work with real-life clients such as Registry of Marriages and Space Matrix. ISP shouldn't just be seen as a school project. It should be used to show off your creativity within the given limitations and inspire the clients with your designs. You are also able to gain recognition whether it be within TP such as open house model displays or through client presentations and external competitions. A personal experience of mine would be winning the Designathon, a competition held in collaboration with TP and Space Matrix. Not only was I able to impress the clients themselves, but my design also gained recognition from one of the judges from Citibank. This allowed me to be recruited as a design consultant for one of their projects, in which I was able to work alongside Siren Design, their architects, where we took inspiration from my ISP3 work and adapted it to their site location.
These are our final year projects. We were given 5 sites to choose from. With a similar pandemic management brief in mind, we crafted our individual proposals based on our sites. FYP is the time where you can choose to design what you are interested in, be it workplace, social, cultural, public, sustainable, etc. For me, I am more interested in urban and public design, so I chose the Beach Road Army Market site for my FYP and focus more on the architecture of the site. Similar to other projects, TP will actively enter your projects for competitions and other media publications to gain recognition, which is incredibly helpful to your portfolio. Something that I treasure a lot this FYP is having my models displayed in school and at the National Design Centre. As award shows are often not attended by family and friends, those were good opportunities to share the honour with people who supported me along the project.
You should always think about what's next after poly. With your newfound skill set, as well as possible accolades or achievements you earned throughout your time in IED, you'll be able to build up your resume for future job applications. Work done throughout your time in IED can also be curated into a comprehensive and inspiring portfolio, which can help show your potential for university admissions or job recruitment.
Singapore uni admissions usually start around the last few weeks of FYP, around late Jan to early Feb. Overseas uni will differ according to their school terms, some as early as October. Apply for a position with your 5 semestral results and await your results, which should come to you no later than May. For NUS, those with high GPA, an interview and aptitude test is not needed. My invitation for the interview and test came to me on 29 March, around 2 months after application. Interview and test are on the same day. For me, it was on the 2nd of April. Before the day, you are required to prepare the specific model materials and submit your updated portfolio to the portal for review during the interview. The test requires you to make a model based on a text and a summarized brief. You will get your results around 2 to 3 weeks later. This is my 5-page collage portfolio that NUS requested prior to the interview. Of course, always prepare a comprehensive collection of your works either in an offline or online format. In NUS, if you come from IID, you are entitled to 40 MCs advanced credit units, which translates to a year of study. So you start your degree in the second year, together with most other poly students. In IID, you would have already picked up essential technical and soft skills and practice them in studio projects. These skills are very helpful in NUS as there are no compulsory technical skills tutorials to be taken. Students are expected to learn those skills at their own time. We were lucky to be able to work very closely with each other in NUS architecture. These are our compiled works from the last semester.
Lastly, to wrap up our presentation, for potential students and future IED graduates, here's a little piece of advice you want to leave with you. Always trust yourself. Take this time to experiment and create what you want. These are one of the few times you can design with minimal limitations. There's no point in trying to listen to what everyone else's idea of what your project should be just to get an A. If you're not happy with what you're designing or you don't believe in it, I believe you should take control, because this is about your future and it's in your hands. And remember, don't take any opportunity TP provides you for granted. Whether it be competitions or workshops, it's all for our benefit and can really equip us with knowledge for our potential future in the industry. With that, we hope this presentation really inspired you, and we hope you'll enjoy IID as much as we did. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for sharing the presentation. Ian, would you like to start off questions for Gillian and Rachel?
Yep. So I really like seeing the works that you guys shared about. I'm actually really curious, how is it like transitioning from poly to uni?
I guess from poly to uni, honestly, at first I thought it would be like a more of an advantage, I guess, considering that you will have a lot more understanding of what you're doing. But like once getting into NUS architecture, because they do put you ahead by a year, you kind of realize that everyone is around your level already, so you don't have as much of an advantage as you think you do. It's a little bit overwhelming, especially because of like the workload and stuff, and like having to balance everything out. But I think in a sense, being from IED, it did give us an advantage in terms of not I guess expecting already like the amount of stress that we are going to have to deal with, as well as in terms of creativity and stuff. I think both me and Rachel have been told like several times that our level of conceptualization is a lot more in depth and more detailed than compared to those that came from JC, because we do have this prior experience. Yeah. Rachel, do you want to add anything?
I think similarly to in poly year one, right, there was a lot of adapting to do. Just adapting to the new environment, or the how all the modules will work out, and the timetable especially. Aside from that, like what Jilan said, being in poly gave us a bit more like social networking skills also. So it was a little bit more easy to relate to others, especially the poly people there. We do have an advantage in terms of the technical skill side, because we learn a wide range of modeling software, a lot more than the JC kids there. Yeah, so I think being IID really helped us.
Okay, how about Mithra, Bernice, and Jordan? Any questions for them?
I can ask one question. Just wanted to address that. Do you have like any favorite moment or experience in NUS like so far?
I think because me and Jilan, we work quite closely in NUS. I think the favorite moments will have to be us staying up to do our works in school. Yeah. How about you, Jilan?
Yeah, I think what Rachel said, because we do have a lot of modules together. So we especially have like group work. So it's me, Rachel, and another two people who actually came from TPID. So like we already have this initial bond, but we weren't super close. So getting to know them better, and like having to spend like endless nights doing models in the middle, like until like 5 a.m. until the next day, like together, it really created a strong like group that we now have. And yeah, so by strengthening like all these bonds that we had initially, that we didn't think we would be able to kind of befriend each other, you know, and it turned into something a lot nicer than we thought it would be. Yeah.
How about Jordan or Bernice? Okay, if not, then let me share a few videos that the working alumni have shared with us.
I'll be speaking to you about my TP experience. Hi, my name is Felicia. I'm a 2021 graduate from TPIAD, and today I'll be speaking to you about my TP experience. For me, the most memorable moments I had in poly actually came from staying in studios till late at night to rush for project submissions. I know it might sound a bit weird to some, and you might think, oh, why would someone enjoy staying in studios till late at night? But the truth is that a lot of the bonding with my classmates actually all came from there, because you know it's late at night and we're all very sleep deprived, so we will talk about the weirdest things to keep each other awake. This type of studio culture also helped in creating a support system where everyone cheered each other on and made sure we were all keeping one another accountable, regardless of whether it was a group or an individual project. And one moment that really comes to mind would be during one of our submissions, when half of the class was kind of done with everything we needed to submit, and the other half was still rushing for time. So those that were done actually tried to help those that were not as much as possible, such as running down to the library to get everything printed, and then we would like bring this like huge stack of papers up for everything that we needed to submit. It was pretty chaotic. There were papers flying everywhere, but now when I think about it, I always laugh. It was a fun time. The biggest takeaway I had in poly was probably the technical skills and presentation skills. These are the two that helped me the most when transitioning from a poly environment to a work environment. Being thrown into both formal and informal presentations every other day in poly definitely helped with my fear of public speaking. And as for the technical skills department, I didn't really have much that I needed to learn the moment I stepped into the workforce because I had already learned most of the things I needed to in poly. So what I did was mostly just gather some tips and tricks from my colleagues along the way to help in increasing workflow. So as for advice for those who are in poly or who are about to enter poly, it's pretty cliche, but you really need to know how to manage your time. Learn how to prioritize and sort everything you need to submit out in sequence and check them off one by one. Make sure you really read up on your deliverables because some projects and modules do have some that actually cross over one another. So if you read up on it and you're aware of it, you can avoid doing double work and you can save up a lot of time that you can use to help in brushing up your other work. And other than that, try not to skip consultation sessions with your lecturers. If you get into the habit of doing it, this can really add up and come and bite you in the future, especially during presentations if your lecturers have no idea what your project is about. It's a very messy situation, so be responsible for your own progress and check in with your lecturers every now and then, especially if they come to you to ask you to consult them, because that usually means that they want to be able to know what you're doing. So as for the biggest differences I've experienced from moving into like the workforce would be that the ability to see the whole construction process as well as accountability. It's honestly super cool to be able to see a project go from like before, during and after construction, and everything really gives you that sense of satisfaction. You definitely get that in poly too, but it's a whole different thing when what you've designed actually, becomes real. And for the accountability part, it's not to say that you are not or you don't have to be accountable in poly. You definitely have to. But it's very different now because every single thing you do in the professional environment carries weight, and even a small mistake can lead to a lot of things going wrong, like your timeline, the materials, everything is just messy. So try to be as organized as possible, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask your colleagues because most of the time they will be more than happy to help you if you show that you are keen to learn and improve. And yeah, that's it from me. All the best, everyone. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Alice. Today I'm here to share with you about my journey after I graduated from IID, from my first job, how I got it to the challenges that I have faced when working as a fresh graduate. A bit about myself. After graduating from IID in May 2021, I have been working as a junior interior designer at Kingsman's Creative. Kingsman is an international design company specialized in exhibitions, museum event design, as well as interior design of retails, offices, and commercial interiors. My team is specialized in thematic and museum as part of KR&D department of the company. These are a few local projects by my teams, such as Toy Box by Hasbro, Nerve Action Experience, Shangri-La Parks. When looking at this project, I have applied to the company without much hesitation as I wish to expose myself to a fun and creative working environment, where I have the opportunity to work on many different interesting projects from locals to overseas. So how did I get a job? We'll start with the timeline of my job search. I started in January of 2021. This was a busy period when I had to juggle between my FYP as well as my search. I started to build up my portfolio and resume with past school projects. At the end of February, when I finished my final submission for FYP, I have a final review of my applications and started to apply to different companies with opening positions for interior designers. At the start of March, I started to receive interview invitations until I got my offer at Kingsman. During the job search period, I have been working on my LinkedIn profile as I feel this is a very useful platform. It allows the recruiter to have an insight of your background as well as being acknowledged that you are opening to work. Next one will be my resume, which I have filled out with my past working experience during internship and school achievement. And last but not least, is the most important part of my applications is my portfolio. Here are the skills that I presented in my resume when I applied to Kingsman, in which I'm more familiar with SketchUp and 3D modeling software. This is quite a challenging part because the position at Kingsman required me to have basic knowledge of 3D Max, so I have spent part of my time in March to equip myself with the skill. And beside the hard skill, the design team is looking for designers who are able to tell story as well as deliver the projects well. So I decided to use my FYP during the interview to present the skill which I have learned during my time in IID, including concept development, rendering, material selections, and branding. It helped me to fulfill the requirement that I need to have as a designer. Next is my 3D Max modeling projects when I was in IIT, including sketching skill. They help me to present the basic skill set I have to match with the job requirement. When I started working later in April as a fresh graduate, I also faced many challenges when I moved from schooling to more professional working environments. First will be information overload. When I start to digest many different projects, duty with tight deadlines, as well as learning about new working system. Secondly is I have to set time to work on my modeling skill while making sure that my work is still meeting the deadlines. Thirdly is I have to take on real responsibility which will have impact on my project later on. And last but not least is making mistakes. While constantly learning from my senior colleagues, I did make mistakes from time to time. But more importantly, I do know that I should be learning from the mistake to improve myself more. And I really enjoy my working experience because this is what I want to do. I do believe that there's nothing as too early or too late to try out new things and do what you love. That's the end of my sharing. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Olivia and I've graduated from Interior Architecture and Design. So currently working as an interior designer, and today I'll be showing you life as an interior designer.
So my job scope includes going through quotations with boss and clients, and even coming up with design proposals such as mood board, material board, and even software skills such as SketchUp and AutoCAD that I've been taught in school. And one of the other interesting aspects of my job is I get to project run one of my sites. So this is one of the renovation works that has been ongoing. So this is how it looks after hacking works. And right after, this is how the unit looks right after tiling works with tower rack shelvings. Another aspect is such that you actually get to liaise with contractors. So as the renovation works goes on, you actually get to learn a lot more than what is taught in school. The 3 years in TP was a memorable one, especially running group projects, studying about anthropometry and ergonomics of human body, and even making a 1:1 scale of chair out of 100% just cardboard materials without any nails or glues involved. In interior architecture and design, we get to learn the importance of site analysis. So what is site analysis? Site analysis is learning about the landmarks nearby to have a better understanding of the site itself before we even derive with our design proposals or even concept ideas that we want to look at and eventually design out the space. My IID experience has been a challenging one, but I really did enjoy every single moment of it. And I would like to thank my lecturers and classmates for helping me out. And I've come to the end of my sharing, and I hope you would follow my Instagram account if you want to learn more about being an ID.
Okay, having seen everybody's presentations and sharing, I think it's quite evident that we can see that the students, how they are shaped across the years from our juniors, the seniors, all the way to the alumni. You can see evidently their work and also the way they present themselves and their confidence in themselves and their work is quite strong. So Soki, do you agree?
Yes, actually, as a lecturer, also in here, I'm glad that all my students have shared their great experience in IID. But at the same time, I would like to inform you guys that, like I answered in some of the Q&A, right, is more importantly is the resilience in learning, the attitude in learning, and the passion in design. So IID is not that easy to go through if you have looked at all their portfolio and what they have actually mentioned to you. So it's about late night, it's about hard work. But at the same time, because of this, all the students have shown their resilience and they have actually able to bridge through it, the 3 years, and it actually end up to what they are now, a very successful alumni, graduates, or even the students that will not give up easily. So that's the spirit of IAD, and I hope anyone that would like to join us, would like to go through these 3 years with us, with your resilience in learning and your passion in design. Yeah.
All right. So right now, I'd like to open the floor to everyone to ask one another questions. Any burning issues, questions that you are going through that you'd like to ask your seniors, this is the time to ask now. I think this is a great opportunity to learn something that you probably wouldn't be able to do given this COVID situation. Previously, before COVID, different levels of students will be encouraged to share and discuss and also probably work on side projects together. But during this period of time, we see less and less of that because of the prevailing restrictions. So this is the time, if you have any questions, to ask one another. Go ahead.
I got one question to ask the alumni. Did like COVID restrict the experiences of your working life, or like do you feel that that is it hindering like some of the exploration like through like work life and stuff? Like did it disappoint you, or like you thought that you would have more stuff?
Are you talking about the internship or?
I think internship, correct.
For me, internship wasn't that much affected because it was, I think, after circuit breaker. So I was still able to go back to office to work. Yeah.
I think for me during internship, like, cause like I was I worked at IKEA, very odd, I know, but I worked there as an interior designer. So you're on the floor a lot and you're interacting with people every day. And I remember there was a time there was like COVID case there. So it's of course like there's like small scares here and there and stuff. But and you have like to go, we still have to go to work, every single day. So I mean, besides that, I guess it kind of seemed normal in a sense. Like, yeah. But I think if we're talking in terms of school, like before that, I think circuit breaker was more prominent in when we were doing our industry studio project, our group work. So that whole time was a bit disorienting to do group work without being able to see each other at all, and without having being able to meet our lecturers. So we are just on the call 24/7, just like trying to work out what we could do. And there are a lot of challenges, like people's computer breakdown and things like that, and circuit breaker, so you cannot fix your computer. So you have to like overcome all these kind of things. Yeah. So I think there's something to just keep in mind. Yeah.
Okay, how about Mitra?
I think I've heard questions already, so I think they answered what I wanted to ask. So nothing.
Maybe as a lecturer, let me ask all my students here then. Okay, so because that's for my potential year ones that would like to join us. So when you're about to join us, what are your worries in joining IAD? And how do you cope with it after that? Do you change the mindset that you have before joining and after? So maybe I can have two speakers in either years, right? Whether you're alumni graduates, about to graduate, or year two, to just help the year one to tide through their so-called their anxiety and worries. Okay, whether how would they be able to cope when they transit from secondary school to their year one journey? Okay, the worries they have, and then when they come in, how do they then change their mindset? Wow, everyone's so quiet. Must be cannot answer my question.
Answer for you. I think the main worry for a lot of people is the fact that they don't have experience in doing design. So like they don't do art or they don't do D&T. They just come like they do like science or something like that. But I think it doesn't really matter when you come in here because everyone kind of starts from the same ground. You know, all these technical skills and things like that, nobody I think would know them beforehand. And I think that's the point of coming here, is to learn and develop your skill set. So you shouldn't really be worried about whether your level of creativity is high enough or something like that. It's always something that can be built upon and can be developed throughout your years. So like if we're talking about how this like I personally overcame it, it's really just like just doing what you think that you can do, like what you want to do. So you shouldn't be trying to copy other people or like, you know, try to live up to other people's expectations. Just do what you feel comfortable doing. And when you do that and you know believe in what you're doing, I think that's when the outcome is the best. Yeah. So I think that's like the main thing that everyone should keep in mind. Yeah.
Thanks, Julian. Anyone else would like to share their experience? Maybe we can have one more. Or we can, if any participant attendees that would like to raise more questions. Yeah.
Actually, to add on to Jillian's, what Jillian has said, I don't come from a art or D&T background in secondary school, so I also had that same worry. But I went through EAE, and during EAE, what I presented was what I do as a hobby, which is origami making. So I do have a passion for modeling physical models. So you can just present whatever you are interested in, be it photography or just random drawing sketches. They will evaluate your more of a passion for art than your skills per se. So how I overcome that in IID was to really do what you are interested in. So at first you might not even know what you're interested in, right? That's okay. Everybody's like that, right? So as you go along, you'll slowly figure out, you try different things, try a lot of things, and then be open to everything you try, and then you'll slowly understand what you will like, and then slowly go towards that direction.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. I hope this has been a very enriching experience for our viewers, and I hope that and all of us here in TP are hoping to see your works and your learning progress as much as we enjoyed looking and watching our students go through the years with us. So thanks for sharing your time with us, and I hope this has been useful for you in making your decision to come to TP IIT Design School. Thank you.